What's going on, guys? So, as I said earlier this week, if I got 10 questions for the Q&A, I would make a video on it today. And I got 9 questions, which is close enough. And I don't want to make the video too long anyways. The questions are pretty good, so I'm going to go over the questions. I'll also put the questions down below if you guys want to, and I'll put timestamps probably so if you guys want to just skim through and find certain answers to certain questions just by skimming through the video. All right, so first question. Hey Samir, I heard from guys who use gear that even after a full PCT, their testosterone never returned to 100%. Yeah, it was high post PCT, but a few weeks later it dropped a little below normal high range. Is it same with SARMs? What's been your experience? All right, so I'm gonna try not to use myself as an example just because I can get banned for that and whatnot. But let's just say I know somebody. Um, so a couple of things with this, like one, yeah, a lot of people make the mistake getting blood work done right after their gear cycles, while the SERMs are still in their system, like the Nolvadex, the Clomid, and those actually artificially boost your testosterone. So people who do that, whoever get their blood work within like the first 4 weeks or however long they're doing their PCT, um, and even 2 weeks after PCT, the level you see during that time is artificially raised and it will drop below after it is finished. But you're saying that your friend used his didn't return to normal after a few weeks after PCT. Um, and the real answer to that is that it depends how long after he got the blood work done, how long after he dropped the serums that he got the blood work done, because maybe right after the serums it might not be at its best. Like personally, my friend waited 6 weeks after finishing the serums to get blood work and was back to what he knows as his baseline. And another problem is that if he does not have blood work from before starting it, he does not know what his levels were. So if he was on the low end of the range before using, then obviously he's going to be on the low range after, and he can't just assume that the cycle is the reason that his levels are not as high as they were before. Now, if he does have pre baseline bloods, if he has those, then and it's not back to the same level as it was, maybe give it a few more weeks, a few more months. If he's in a good range, like anywhere between like 500 plus, which is average in terms of testosterone, then that's what I consider a pretty good recovery, because there are people out there who stay on the low range for a long time after. But there's actually a study that came out showing that people, long time users who came off after cycle, returned to baseline at some point, but depending on genetics and how long they use things like that, it took them different amounts of time. Some people up to like 4 years. So that's something to consider too. That was a pretty long question, pretty long answer, but it was a good question. So to sum it up, um, oh, and you said, is it the same with SARMs? With SARMs, it's not the same, because SARMs are suppressing you, not shutting you down, whereas just one injection of exogenous testosterone will plummet your LH and FSH, which are responsible for producing those hormones. So SARMs, that's never been the case in anybody I've ever seen, unless possibly they use pro hormones. Even then, I haven't seen it, and that's just what I've seen personally. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. If you have more questions, if I didn't explain it well enough, just comment below. Next question is, have you ever tried a testosterone cycle? If so, how do you feel it sounds like? How do you feel it SARMs like LGD compare? So like I said, I'm not going to use myself, but I have a friend that has used testosterone and LGD, and it depends on the dosage. I'd say like 10 to 20 milligrams of LGD could be something close to like 250 milligrams of testosterone, but a lot of people, the starter cycle for testosterone anyways is like 500 milligrams, and to be honest with you, I don't think you will find a SARM that will give you the results that 500 milligrams of testosterone will give. That's just the fact of the matter. But like I said, LGD at a high dosage seems to give results similar to something like T-ball, which is an actual anabolic, or one of the milder ones, but it definitely could be like on a lower dose, still higher than your baseline. It could be comparable to some of them, but the higher doses of anabolics, I'd say that is not the case. Third question: stress relief for college kids like theanine and GABA. Okay, this is a good question. I had a lot of stress issues, especially when I used to use Adderall, because Adderall is super taxing on your central nervous system. And it gets you tweaked out, like fucking you can't sleep at night. You know, there's so many issues that happen when you're using things like stimulants, amphetamines, etc. Personally, what's worked best for me, I like theanine. GABA I don't like too much because GABA doesn't really cross the blood-brain barrier. Some people say they get good effects from it, but that's the people that get an effect from it, actually it's been shown that they have probably leaky brain barrier. I think that's what it's called. I don't know exactly what that is, but I'm assuming that there's some kind of dysfunction in your brain, which is why you get effects from GABA. Personally, I just get a weird feeling from GABA when I take it. But so I like theanine. Three other things that I definitely would recommend, depending on your stress levels. First is magnesium, a good quality magnesium, not magnesium citrate or oxide. Those are garbage magnesiums. I would go with glycinate. That's what I use usually because it's cheaper, but it's still very bioavailable form, and it has glycine in it too, which is really good for relaxing your CNS. So magnesium glycinate would be my first choice. Malate and taurate are kind of newer ones that are good too, but they're pricier, so I personally haven't tried them. But glycinate is very good. You can get like Doctor's Best magnesium glycinate. I get mine off Amazon. So magnesium, ashwagandha I like a lot too. Ashwagandha is so helpful when I was using it. Adderall. And I still use ashwagandha. You know, if you're hyperthyroid, you don't want to use it because it can raise your thyroid levels. But if you're even hypothyroid, which means it's a little slower, which you could be, it'll actually even be beneficial in that case too. So ashwagandha also, and phosphatidylserine. That would be my last choice, not because of its effectiveness. It's very effective, but it's very expensive too. So if you can budget it, I would get phosphatidylserine too, but you need like a higher dosage also. Ashwagandha, magnesium glycinate are two that I would definitely add. In your case, what's your diet like? How much calories are you eating when you're trying to get shredded? So, I mean, like right now, my diet, I mean, it's kind of like all over the place. I've been really busy and stuff. I don't eat too much bad food. I don't go too crazy. You know, I plan on dieting again soon for the summer probably, but it's usually my diet. If you're asking for my macros, I mean, like everyone should know by now, everyone's macros is different. I know people that can cut on like 3,000 calories. Some people have to go to 1,500 calories. So personally, usually at the end of my cut, I kind of like to carb cycle a little bit, even though like I don't really believe it's much better. I personally do it a little bit because I do have like refeeds and stuff. But like for example, last time I got really lean, I was probably at like 50 to 60 fat, about 200 carbs and 200 grams of protein. So it's pretty low calories. I was only doing cardio like 5 days a week, and I had a refeed day, 1 to 2 refeed days usually, where I would bump my carbs up to like 350 grams or 400. But that's where I was really lean, and I was, you know, it's kind of, I do it more so by feel. It's not really all that calculated. But yeah, typically that's what I do, and I track with MyFitnessPal. Food choices are, you know, I don't like the whole if it fits your macros. I don't like to eat like a bunch of junk food because it makes you crave more junk food. So I mean, I'll eat like organic ground beef, rice, oatmeal, cream of rice, things like that. What nootropics are? Damn, this video is fucking long, 9 minutes. All right, what nootropics are highly effective and sustainable for a long time? So there are a lot of nootropics that could be highly effective for you. Nootropics are such a variable thing from person to person. I've wasted so much money trying different nootropics, if I'm being completely honest, and a lot of people will say the same. So there's a difference between the sustainable for a long time and effective. I don't know which ones you could say are sustainable because there are not too many research. It's not so much research done on a lot of them. A lot of them are more so short-term studies, and we don't know the long term. So to be honest with you, sustainable for a long time, it's very hard for me to give you an answer to that. I would say like a very good quality B vitamin or something like L-tyrosine, something that your body naturally makes would likely be one that I would consider sustainable for a long time. In terms of highly effective, I'll give you my top five. And if you want to ask me about it, you can comment down below. I'm not going to go in depth about it. I should have made a video about this anyways, but I like phenylpiracetam. Tolerance builds quick, but it's very, very good. It gives you very good laser focus. I like modafinil, of course, as I made a video on it. As long as you're not using it too much, because tolerance builds really fast. So like 1 to 2 days a week. I like nicotine, little nicotine mints. Okay, not the fucking. I don't like smoking cigarettes. That shit will really kill you. But there are a lot of studies coming out about nicotine's cognitive benefits, things like that. As long as you're not abusing it, I use like 1 milligram, which is like the fourth of an amount in a cigarette or something. Actually, I don't know how much is in a cigarette, but it's a super small amount. I take that like 2 to 3 days a week. No tolerance builds. Don't ever take it more than 1 day in a row if you don't want to build tolerance. So I think I'll just give you those three because those three I like a lot. Probably the ones I use the most. Lion's Mane's good too. Lion's Mane's ones that you could use for a long time and sustainable. And Bacopa's also a good one that's long term and sustainable, which is very good for memory. So those would be the 5 that I use most frequently, I'd say. And caffeine and teocrine I like a lot too. How to get tests without doctor's prescription? I can't answer that. But there are a lot of black market. I mean, think about it. Everybody gets tested without a doctor's prescription. All you have to do is some researching, and I'm fine. You can find some information. But I hope you understand. I just cannot. I cannot give you that information. What are the best SARMs you have experienced in terms of least side effects and better results? I liked S4 a lot, even though the fucking side effect is so apparent. The vision thing, especially at nighttime. I thought S4 had like no sides because. Like LGD can make you lethargic. Or Ostarine probably has the least sides, and then S4 other than the vision size, which is actually a pretty big side. But like LGD is one of my favorites, but the pumps are great and stuff, but you get lethargic pretty fast. At least I do, because of how fast it shoots your, how fast it lowers your testosterone and. So I'd say Ostarine. Then I guess S4 if you don't care about the vision sides. It's a pretty big side. I haven't tried Rad 140 actually. Then I'd probably say LGD and then S23 is fucking not. That shit has hella sides. So those would be and then Cardarine, no side effects, of course, other than the risks you take, which I don't think are too big. And then MK677 is not a SARM either, but actually that I've heard a lot of people get a lot of sides from that too, or can. So those would be my 4. I might be missing a SARM, but I think that's what I'd say. Ostarine, S4, and then LGD, and then I wouldn't even put S23 in there. What do you think of? This is my last question, I think. Yeah. What do you think of MK677 increasing insulin resistance? Something crucial to shedding. What is a good way to monitor any potential ill effects if your blood sugar is always higher while on it? Also, any input on the study showing the ill effects of long-acting Ghrelin mimetics? Thanks. Okay, this is a good question. So I think the MK677, I think you can definitely burn fat with it. The increase in insulin resistance, I think you have to use it for a prolonged period of time to really get that effect. If you can stick to your diet on MK, I think it can be beneficial for fat loss because even things like just growth hormone in general is known to be very effective in helping burn fat. It's proven over and over again. The muscle growth is debated from growth hormone, but the fat loss is definitely not. So I think it could be good for a diet, to be honest with you. If you could stick to your diet, that's probably why nobody uses it, because they can't stick to their diet when they're using MK. But in terms of monitoring the blood sugar, I guess getting a fucking glucose monitor. That's kind of like, it seems like a lot, but if you really want to be sure, that's definitely going to be the best way. And I think you'd know also when your blood sugar drops because it's very, very apparent. You fucking start shaking and stuff. It's not, it's not pleasant. But if you are someone who cannot eat, it could be great for you, to be honest. I know a lot of people who put on weight using it. And then any input on the studies showing the ill effects of long acting. Uh, I don't know which ones you're talking about particularly, like which side effects. If you were talking about, I think the biggest one is like GRHP6 has the cortisol effect. I think it spikes your cortisol and your prolactin. I think. I haven't used HRP6 because it's pretty dirty, like in terms of the side effects, if that's what you're talking about. So in terms of that, I'm not too like well versed in it, but those two side effects don't sound great in general. So if you're gonna go with the GH peptide route, ipamorelin and CJC with DAC was a great combination, though it can get pricey. That was probably the favorite peptides that I used. If you have any more questions about my experience with that or anything, you can just comment down below. But yeah, this video was long as fuck, 16 minutes. I don't even know if anyone's gonna watch this, but I'm gonna definitely put the timestamps down below. I'm sorry if I took too long to explain something or if I didn't answer you guys' question correctly. I don't do the Q&As too often, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you thought it was informative, if you learned something, if you have something that you want to tell me that I said wrong or something, whatever, feel free to. If you like the content, please subscribe, please like. I'm so grateful for you guys, to my 450 subscribers, however many you are. I'll put my link down below too for my recommended SARM company. And yeah, that's it.